Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to another episode of Fast Track Thoughts, where we're going to be covering the second episode of .2 Series 13, War of the Sontarans. Now, as always, spoilers ahead, this isn't a review, this is just my thoughts, my, things that I pulled away from the episode, so if you're wanting an actual review, you're going to have to wait until the end of the series, but, still, spoilers ahead, I'm just going to be saying anything that I think of, and, roll the intro. Alright, so... where do I start with this? I was really excited for this episode. I don't know if I made it completely clear in the last Thoughts video, but I was actually really looking forward to this episode. I love Sontarans, as I said way too many times. I was re-listening to that previous episode, previous Thoughts, and yeah, I brought up that I like Sontarans way too much. We did hear Sontar Ha, which is always fun. We also got a variation, Sontar Ho, and that was interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. Unfortunately, the hand gesture, the, swinging your fist into your palm, it didn't return as far as I could see, because they were all holding weapons, but, it's still, it's halfway there, Sontar Ha, I like it. Something that I didn't like about Sontarans, I've kind of broken this down my notes-wise into the three main subplots I care about, which is the Sontarans, that were covered, the Sontarans, the Swarm, and, the dogs. That's how I've broke this down. So, when it comes to the Sontarans, I like that they've kept the continuity of their weaknesses being hit in the back of the head. Obviously, that was a classic thing. It's nice that they brought it back. Having Dan go around with a wok pan and just hitting him in the back of the head, very fun. I do enjoy that. The reference to hitting them with the hammer, very good. Obviously, that was how I believe Sarah Jane dealt with them in the Fourth Doctor's era, I believe. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've watched those old episodes, but yeah, it's good to see them back in all their glory. I love the look for them. They are phenomenal. The armor being black, very, very cool. Like a metallic grey, I guess, like gunmetal. But in any case, like everything that we saw of the Sontarans, I think was great. The fact that they kind of made fun of them for being overly stupid. I feel like that's more of a modern thing. I feel like that wasn't really, I feel like they've never been smart, don't get me wrong, but I feel like having them be clueless, like they were, like some of them were at least, in this episode, is just a little bit too far. And that's just probably me, because I'm a Sontaran fan, but yeah, that felt a little bit off, but it didn't take away from them. I enjoyed all their appearances. The idea of having an enemy that is so war-hungry, but like you could literally follow it a few yards behind and it wouldn't even realise. I do like that as just a comedic twist. So, overall that's fine. I'm not huge on it, but it is what it is. I will say though, why is it that other than in the Crimean War scene, which I will mention the Crimean War stuff, though I'll be honest, historicals aren't my thing, I don't really care too much about them. Other than in the actual Crimean War setting, Stormtrooper physics is definitely at play with the Sontarans. They do not hit Dan once when when multiple of them are chasing him down an alleyway. And fair enough, he was kind of weaving a little bit, but there was like 4 or 5 of them, maybe more than that, it's hard to tell really, that were chasing him down, shooting at him, and not one even grazed him. Like, I understand, you don't want to hurt your main cast, you don't want to hurt the companions, but come on, just hit him in the leg or something so he's limping for the rest of the episode. Just something of interest, maybe something that can bring on some stakes later in the episode or something, I don't know. It felt very weird that they just decided, oh yeah, this species that is literally, a clone race born and raised to serve as military, one of the most fearsome fighting forces in the galaxy, in the universe, and they can't hit a human that's running away from them? It just seems really backwards. And it's like, they're already, I'll be honest, Sontarans are already pathetic enough by the fact they can be knocked out by hitting them in the back of the head. I mean, to be fair, if you hit me in the back of the head with a wok, I probably would also get knocked out, but you get what I mean. It's kind of dumb how they implement Sontaran logic to the modern day setting with Dan. And weirdly enough, his parent. You know what? I'll talk about the modern day stuff, and that'll lead into the dog stuff because, yeah, Dan, for some reason, falls through time, and rather than go to some random place like what happens to Yaz, which I'll get to, he just appears 2 days after he disappeared. So, nothing new there. His parents appear out of nowhere. They've been looking for him. The Sontarans appeared. It might be 5 days that he's begun, actually, because I think it was 2 days after he disappeared that the Sontarans appeared or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, his parents appear. I was actually watching the episode with my parents, and they recognised the actress that plays Dan's mother. I don't recognise her. She's not from anything I've seen. But that got them pretty excited, so that was nice to see. But yeah, the parent subplot seems to go nowhere, because all it really does is just catch us and, by extension, Dan up on, how the Sontarans got to modern day Earth, which is, they just basically appeared after the dogs created a shield around the Earth. Very cool, very neat. I'd love to have seen that. That'd have been nice. But, once again, it's Chibnall. Show don't tell. Tell don't show, sorry, is his mythology, is his way of writing. So, I should be used to it at this point. I don't know why I complain about it every time. But yeah, that was a waste. We did get a lot of explanations of, how humans have learned how to hit them in the back of the head to knock them out or kill them and stuff. It's a lot of fun stuff, and there's a lot of nice throwbacks to other Sontaran stuff, but really, it wasn't that worthwhile, and I kind of stand by what I kind of said last week. Dan doesn't need to exist. Dan does not need to be in these episodes. He doesn't add anything really to the stories, and quite honestly, it's a shame, because I am quite liking the character, but he feels so tacked on just because they needed to have an extra companion in. But then, on top of that, they have got Carvanista, and they have got, once again, I forgot his name, but the observatory guy. Those two could easily have filled the gap that Dan has, especially Carvanista, who is on Earth. Just make it so that maybe, Yaz is, the human that Carvanista has been assigned or something. I don't know. And you'd have to change some of the story, but, I don't know. I feel like Dan isn't really that important, and there's other characters that could easily fill his role. Even characters that pre-exist could have filled his... at the end of the day, Chibnall loves to bring back old characters. Bring back Martha or something. Have Martha be the modern day Earth character. And, I don't know, it seems so much like a waste of potential for this role that's been given to Dan. And I don't want to make this a rant about why I don't like Dan. I'll probably make an entire video on why I don't like Dan at the end of the series. Or I'll make it on why I change my ideas on Dan, because I might end up liking him by the end. But yeah, most of the stuff with Dan, I honestly think is kind of redundant. Though that does bring us pretty handily onto all the dog stuff, the stuff with Carvanista and the loopholes, or whatever they're called, their species. So yeah, Carvanista comes and saves Dan's life from Sontarans. That's very cool. It's interesting to see that basically any laser weapon can just insta-kill a Sontaran, which kind of makes them pointless as enemies, generally, because if they're in a future setting, which a lot of the time they are, or a space setting even, they're pretty easy to get rid of. And it's weird that they would do it like that when they could just... I don't know. Having them be resistant to laser fire would probably make Sontarans more threatening, but that aside, the dog's back, the dog boy is back. That's great to see. I like Carvanista. I was worried after, how last episode ended that we weren't going to see the Lupins, the dog people, until maybe episode 5, episode 6. I thought they were going to fall into the background. I like them. I think the effects are actually decent. Though, I did notice, and it wasn't just, as I say, I watched this with my parents, and they noticed as well. Carvanista goes between having, dog eyes, black just dots with fur around them, just, black circles that are a bit shiny, like a dog has, and then suddenly you'd have human eyes, fully human eyes with whites and colour and all that, and I don't know if that was like reshoots or something, where they just used a different mask maybe, or a different makeup application. I don't really know how Cavanista's head is done. But that was really distracting, and I don't remember it happening in the first episode. But yeah, every once in a while he'd go from having human eyes to dog eyes, and then dog eyes to human eyes, just randomly. Not between shots by any means, like it wasn't that distracting, but between scenes he'd have different style of eyes. And I don't know whether that's just a feature of the Carvanista species or something that like is supposed to just be this whimsical like weird thing about them that like you're not really supposed to think about, or whether that was actually just a production mistake. But in any case, it distracted me. So if it was supposed to, if it was on purpose and you weren't supposed to notice it, well, they failed. But yeah, it's weird having just weird inconsistency like that. But yeah, generally I do enjoy Carvanista. Having him in the episode is good. They're going to be, the dog people, the Lupins, or whatever they're called, are going to be looking after the Earth throughout this series, throughout the next 4 episodes. So that's good. That means that they are going to be here to stay. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about dog people. So I guess, you know what, I'll mention it real quick. Just, it's not something I'm really interested in, but the main historical setting of this episode, the main location was the Crimean War. It's not a time period or a war or anything that I'm that knowledgeable of. It's I can't remember her name. It's Sikal, I think her name is, a nurse from the Crimean War, or a doctress, as she was referred to. I think she referred to herself as it. Around the time of Nightingale, whereas Nightingale was, behind the lines, just with a proper hospital that was backed by, all sorts of things. Sikal was, in the front lines, tending to the injured that were on the field. She had her Hotel Britain, I think. She's a really wonderful person from history, and she was doing justice, in my opinion. I'm not sure how the history buffs are going to feel about it, but as someone who doesn't really know too much about her in the grand scheme, other than what I learned in history at my GCSEs, yeah, I enjoyed her. I thought she was a good character. They used a lot of her traits very well, and overall, I do think she was well utilized. It reminds me a lot of what they did with Rosa Parks in series 11, but at the same time, I don't think this episode is anywhere near as good as that episode. But at the same time, it was not trying to be that episode, so I can completely understand why they are so different, despite having, I'd say, similar enough characters in terms of how important they are to, acceptance of people of colour and women in various roles and stuff. I liked having her in the episode. She made a nice little appearance that I quite enjoy. I don't care about historicals though, so I'm going to move on from that. And onto the other subplot, which I believe these are all the subplots that were actually covered in this episode. Because the Weeping Angels weren't covered in this episode, the Cybermen weren't covered in this episode. What else was there? There's one other storyline. That's going to bug me. But yeah, the other storyline in this episode that was covered is the Swarm. And I'm going to just say it straight up. I still don't care about the Swarm. I don't care about the Division any more than I did last time. I don't care about his sister. Though I do kind of care about who on earth is the tall guy. And I understand they probably did say his name. He looks really familiar. And I honestly, I think, to me, I'm sure that he's a character from Classic, from Old Who. I just don't know who he is, and he looks so familiar, it's bugging me, and I need to rewatch the episode, obviously. This is my thoughts immediately after watching the episode, so, I haven't had a chance to check who it is, but, yeah, he seems familiar, he seems cool, we haven't seen him do anything yet, but, if he is actually a villain from the past, that'd be interesting, it'd be cool to see, and, yeah, when it comes to that subplot, so, there's a time agents authority, because of course there is. They have to copy Marvel at some point. I'm not saying that legitimately. That is a joke. But yeah, there's a Temple on the planet of time, and there's a council that control the flow of time or something to that effect. And Yaz, the observer guy, I can't remember the name of, corporal or captain, whatever he is, and then also the guy that owned the mine from last episode, which we only see him for one scene, and he just disappears. But yeah, they all get trapped in this triangle planet or triangle, this temple, this time temple, and eventually Swarm and his sister and this other guy that I don't know the name of join. And long and short of it, there's an issue with this council that control time, and by the end of the episode, two of these council members are replaced with Yaz and the captain, not by their own free will. Swarm forces them to be, and yeah, that brings us to the cliffhanger, which is Swarm snapping his fingers to disintegrate Yaz and the captain guy. So yeah, it's an episode, and you know what? It's not a bad episode. I'm gonna say that, like, quite honestly, it is not bad. It's not, offensive to me. I don't really feel either way about it. It's an okay episode. I probably won't watch it again other than just to do some fact-checking for the review. But yeah, it's disappointing. I think that's the strongest word I can give towards it. I love Sontarans. I love Sontaran warfare. I was expecting a lot more than what I got. The fact that it had to be historical as well with Seacal, whereas they could have just done a generic war, or they could have even done Crimea and just not brought in any historical figures, and I think it would have been a stronger story for it. And that's a shame, because I did like Seacal in the episode. I thought she was really good. But yeah, it just... And while I'm just on the topic of the historical thing, the fact that the British, and I know it's accurate, but the fact that the British commander, or the lieutenant as he actually is, just kills retreating Sontarans straight up in cold blood, just blows them up. Ooh, that was bad. And, as I say, I know historically Britain has been like that, so I'm not really going to question it. I'm not going to complain about it. It's accurate, so whatever. But yeah, that was awful to watch. And the Doctor, I know she couldn't do much, but she could have done something. She could have reprimanded the lieutenant or something. She has the authority, and I wish that we'd see her use it more often. I don't know. Once again, this is an episode where I'm just looking at Jodie Whittaker's Doctor and just going, where is the Doctor? These episodes, the little BBC commentator narrator thing at the start of every episode goes, where is the Doctor? Because that's the tagline of this series, apparently. And, yeah, the answer is, we don't know, because clearly the person that we are following right now that's calling themselves the Doctor and holds the sonic screwdriver is not the Doctor, at least not in how she acts, and it's disappointing because I do want to like Jodie. This is her last series. I really want to like Jodie, but I just don't like this Doctor. And she's given me no reasons to like her. I did, however, I will just say there was a joke at the very start. Seacal, who for some reason they decided to make sexist, basically just said, Doctor, that's a male name, that's a male title, and the Doctor just says, well, it's fluid, which I thought was a good joke. It works, it works for the Doctor. I liked that, and yeah, that's really all I can say positive towards the Doctor in this episode. I don't know, the fact that I have more to say about the dog character in this series than the Doctor, it says so much. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this thoughts video. Tell me what you thought of the episode in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you did like this video, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new around here, and ring that bell so you never miss upload. I'm going to get a new thoughts video on every episode, shortly after the episode. It could be Sunday, it could be Monday. It depends how quick I can render them out. But yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I hope to see you next time. Bye!
It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation. I can hardly think. It's like like the worst song you've ever heard on every station.